What's going on, everyone? Welcome. This is the Warehouse Series. This is Discord Friday. Although I am filming this on Saturday, I've been taking off some time at work, getting some stuff done around the house, and it's just been a very jam-packed off days for me, trying to get everything done so when I go back to work, I can work overtime. So if you're new to the channel, I thank you for being here. Join Discord. Guys, I also want to say is when I throw these donations up here, I'm not ever feeling like I'm like pushing this on you guys, but I'll tell you what, when I get them, it's very humbling. I don't get a lot of donations, but yesterday I was doing some stuff late at night and my phone goes off and I see it's a Venmo and I just stop and I just, you guys have no idea how thankful I am. So I really appreciate it. All right, so today's orders, they're all dairy. They just happen to be a lot of dairy orders, so I figured I'm going to make this a dairy warehouse. Guys, the orders that I'm going to be going over are stuff I'm going to be pointing out. If you're new to the channel, what I do is I've been selecting for 25 years, and I feel like I came up with a good way of building pallets. I feel like I always build a good pallet. And, I'm not saying you have to try to build a pretty pallet, but when you start learning certain techniques, it's going to help you build a sturdy pallet at a quicker pace. And that is what I am here to try to help you do. So when I start going through these orders and I start calling you out on things, it's not me trying to put you down or anything like that. I'm just saying that this is the way I would do it. And I always say, just because I'm saying one way doesn't make it the right way. It's just the way that I would do it. All right, so this, before we start going through this first picture right here, guys, if you are going to take stuff in the warehouse, take pictures and not videos if you can. When you take a video, I have to sit there and pause the video and try to get it to not be blurry. Sometimes when I get a shot that I really want, it's just way too blurry to even go over. So just keep that in mind. So this one right here, guys, if you're new to the channel, now excuse me for my raspy voice. I'm just so exhausted from doing everything I've been doing all week. That's why I didn't put the video out yesterday. Guys, keep liquids upright. All right. My biggest role on this YouTube channel is no liquids on their sides, no liquids upside down. They should all be upright. All right. It's the one case that I do not mess with. It's always upright. So guys, the base is the most important part of your pallet. I get it that there's a lot of places that have bigger boxes, they're all the same size, so that touch once mentality could definitely be there. But when you're throwing dairy like this and you get big cases like this, you're getting smaller cases, and then you get a case that's a cube, guys, get that touch once mentality out of your head. I will touch cases multiple times on the base because it's the most important part of the pallet. And as you can see right here, this case is screaming for their life because this is a heavy pallet. And the entire weight of this corner is resting on that case. And you can see it buckling in that case. Once again, I always say this, guys, when this gets to the store and it's wrapped, and let's say the person cuts it from the opposite side, this whole corner is boom, it's falling and it's gonna be a mess. All right, we're gonna have broken liquid all over the place at the store. So what would I have done differently down here is I would have spaced my cases out on my base. All right, we do not want big holes like this, especially on our base. So just space out your cases. If this cube's not working here, this cube case, then put it somewhere else. Throw it up on the next layer and let's make our base work. All right, your first 3 layers in the dairy are so important to make them work and make sure that we're not getting any buckling going on. We got a case buckling here. Is it a possibility that you selected it like that? If you did, put the buckled side facing in. We got a case upright right here. I don't know if it's liquid, it might be. And because it probably is, because this whole pallet looks like it's liquid. We got welchets on its side. Remember, guys, we don't need to be level at all costs. We need to make sure our cases are gonna make it to the store and be presentable. Because this case right here, let's say if that's coffee creamer or whatever, and it's buckled, the cases, like the product inside is buckled, are you buying that off the shelf at the store? No, you're going to push it to the side and they're going to end up throwing that away because nobody wants to buy that case or that product in there. So with that being said, first 3 levels especially are so important in dairy when you're starting off with the juices and stuff like this, but you do not want big holes like that. We need to fill in the entire pallet on the base, leaving the gaps within the middle of the pallet as small as possible. All right, I believe these first like 3 or 4 pictures are all the same person. Once again, we got, case on its side, it's liquid. Guys, space cases out. It is so important to space cases out. Just from this little bit hanging in the hair, we got buckling going on. It's so important to just space those cases out. We got cases hanging into the gaps, and we got pressure on the cases hanging into the gaps. So whenever you're selecting and you're getting, like maybe you guys have proper lifting at your work, when you hold a case all the way out, they say it magnifies it by 10 times. But if you hold it in close to your body, you're taking all that weight off of the case and off your back and all that pressure. Well, it's the same with this. When you take this silk and you put it into the gap like this, and now it's leaning onto the next one, you just magnified the weight of that case. All right, because what happens is when you put cases on top of it, it's just going to keep wedging itself in there. And believe it or not, this could easily push this entire corner over when you're going around the bend. And it just keeps working its way down in there, and it's just going to knock it over. We got to tie in from a high to a low. You're up top of the pallet, and it's a minute one. It's not that big of a deal. I try to keep cases level as much as I possibly can, especially cases with weight. So space out cases, looks like we have a slight slip sheet in there, one of those little paper ones. I don't know if it's going to be doing much, but other than that, cases upright and space out your cases on this one. Let's take a look at your next one. All right, guys, once again, space cases out. I don't know what this case is right here, but it looks like it's on its side. So this bottom row, I agree. All right, so I'm going to show you on another picture coming up. I don't follow the block with these. I don't follow the block with a lot of juices, all right? If I feel I put the same block that's on the pallet onto my pallet and it's hanging off the sides, I go with lesser cases. I'll take one out and I'll make my own block, and I do that with these. But the thing is, the most important thing is space the cases out. So you take a gap this big and you knock 4 gaps down to this big. You know what I mean? Because you're spacing the cases out. Right here, face cases inwards. When you face cases inwards, you save space on the pallet and you're making that pallet stronger. And this is one of my pet peeves about slip sheets, is we have another slip sheet in here. We got cases on their sides. It looks like, I just feel like because you're way better off using a slip sheet when you're level. But people get a little too carried away with trying to be level at all costs. They start turning cases on their sides and upside down that shouldn't be that direction, just so they can put a slip sheet down. I always say learn to build without a slip sheet. And there are certain times in the warehouse where you could definitely utilize a slip sheet. I told you I used one of my first slip sheets ever on top of shippers, and it definitely worked for me. And I could see you using a slip sheet on a product like this, but just don't compromise cases to make that slip sheet work. All right, guys, now we already looked at here up. I wanted to point down here. We got a lactate upside down and it's crushing. All right, guys, picture all the bottles inside of there upside down. All right, the big part of the container, all these containers are funneled up. All right, everything's funneled up. Well, you have all of the necks of those lactates standing on their heads with the small part of the bottle. We want that nice big part of the bottle as our base, not upside down. It's going to make it so much easier to crush this product. When you pick up cases, don't pick them up from their flaps. I'm not saying that's what you did here, but I just like to point stuff up like that. Now, sometimes I'll put one hand on the flap, but I put most of the weight underneath the case on the opposite side, and I try to lean it back towards the hand that's underneath the case. Because when you guys look, there's not much glue on these. You touch them, they're going to fall apart. And then when the flaps come open, it's not much, but it's making that case that much weaker, and that case is on the base, so it's going to definitely crush a lot more. Once again, space out cases. I don't know if I said that on the last slide, but with that being said, guys, cases upright, cases upright, cases upright, liquids especially. All right, so I told you with the other juices, I don't like using the block that comes off. I don't like using the block with these either. Guys, when they come off, look at the full pallet that comes off the truck and it's sitting on the dock waiting to be tagged to put back into the reserve. They're hanging off the pallet. It's always like this. It's always bowed out because it does not fit. When those cases are coming off from wherever they come from, Florida Natural or whatever, they're trying to get as many cases on that row as possible without going too high because they don't want the cases crushing. That is why they do that. I disagree with following the block on these. I go less. So I like how you have these coming in. I love the center row. I'd come in this way. All right, so when the cases Coming in, you're going to save yourself a little room. You might give yourself a gap on each side, but you're going to space your cases out. And we have the cases facing towards this middle part of the pallet. That is the strongest point. If right now we're column stacking, or no, maybe not. It looks like you have a bigger case down here, but I'm telling you, point these cases in, save yourself some space, especially on plastic pallets. If you do not have to use plastic pallets, don't use them. Smaller building surface, and the outsides flex whenever you have a large amount of quantity of heavy product. I like the spaced out cases in the back right here with the milk. That's exactly what I'm talking about. High corner. I love the lower inside. So you're not, just a few tweaks. You're not doing like a bad job. You're just a few tweaks. That's all I would say. Face these cases in. Who cares if you're going to have a little bit of gaps on the inside? All right. So this one right here, we're going to look at the side view of this also. Very column stacked. Guys, when you're in the dairy, over time, okay, if you're a new selector, I get it, but you can definitely tie in these cases. I know it doesn't seem like it, but when you have 30 cases that are all different sizes, believe it or not, it's actually kind of easier to tie in, I believe, because you can maneuver stuff and you can almost form your base with all these cases. But we did lean in, so that's good. But just way too big of a pallet to column stack. Now, if I was a half of this pallet, go for it. I say go for it because you're only building a half a pallet. Once again, knowing your cube. So if I had a 40 cube pallet, I don't care if I'm column stacking this, but if I have a full pallet, I'm not column stacking the whole pallet because it's going to be like this. It's going to be very risky to fall over. And I've seen column stack pallets like this when you're starting with all small cases at the bottom, wrapped, and the whole pallet falls over. And another thing I want to say is, once again, it's a type of liquid, even though it's yogurt. I keep all my yogurts upright as well. I do not turn yogurts upside down. I do not put yogurts on their sides. This case right here, face it in. You got a nice, big, long case. Anytime I get a big, long case like that and it's wide, all right, now let's say the case was half the box. All right, so let's say the case was half the box. I immediately think on the middle part of my cross and T. Anytime I get long, skinny cases, unless I have two of them, I will use them for a corner to form a bigger case. Like you can almost picture yourself taking two cases to form one. I hope that makes sense. But anytime I get big cases like this, they're always facing in. If I have one, if I have two, then I will run them back like this. But one case, use it as a corner facing in. It's going to be a nice, strong corner for you. All right, so here's the side view of that. And as you can see, just column stacked, way too much. And we column stacked our small cases on the outside. All right, so if you are going to do this, if this is the way you were taught to build and you are comfortable building like this and you feel like your pallets aren't going to fall over, let's at least put our bigger, thicker, stronger cases on the outside. All right, so try putting your bigger boxes on the outside and put the smaller boxes on the inside. And I like these sour creams or whatever these are. I like putting them in the middle. They're a little bit flimsier packaging. But other than that, you could easily tie this in, I promise you. All right, guys, this isn't a bad pallet, but I just want to tell you, if you're going to be selecting cases 8 to 12 hours a day or even longer sometimes, 6 days a week sometimes, and if you plan on doing this for years to come, save your back. All right, use a breaker pallet when you absolutely need one. If this was a level playing field, you did not need this breaker pallet. Everything here could have been easily stacked without the breaker, unless you had somebody throw that breaker up like a forklift, but I doubt you did. All right, and we're on this plastic wood. You got redwood, don't use the plastic. If you're allowed to use the redwood and the blue wood, get rid of the plastic, and I would go with this all day long. Also, we have a lower corner, it looks like down here. Remember, I don't care if I put a case down. If I put this case down, then I get this case and I'm low on that on the pallet, and this is just a little bit lower, I am swapping those cases around. It literally takes a half a second. All right, guys, this is the last picture I want to look at. Remember, this was all dairy pallets today. Keep posting your pictures. Guys, if you posted, I haven't been on Discord in the last like 10 days. Like I said, I've been very busy around the house. So if you posted something on Discord that you wanted me to see and maybe I didn't see it, can you do me a favor and private message me on Discord and send me your pictures, and I will make sure I put them them on an upcoming video. With all the interaction on Discord now, which is awesome, we got a lot of people over there. I don't even know how many we have. We got to be around 750. But with all the interaction over there, I can't keep up with everything. So if you really want your stuff on a Discord Friday, please instant message me. So with that being said, guys, juice upside down. I saw juice sideways somewhere. We got more juice upside down. Keep the juices upright. I get why you guys do this. You want the level surface from the cardboard, but once again, you're putting pressure on the skinny part of the bottle. All right, we want pressure on the thicker part of the bottle, which is the base of the bottle, because it's also stronger. If you ever look at cartons, they're strong. They got like a hard bottom and a weak top. Well, you're putting all the pressure, even though there's no pressure on this because we got something here. It looks like one of those black sheets, black plastic things. It's not good. All right, just because you never know if a cap's broken and it's going to start leaking. Once again, yogurts, I always keep them upright as well. It's just the way I am, because you got those flimsy tops on the yogurts, and if you're putting pressure on them, like let's say this upside down yogurt was lower and you're putting a bunch of pressure on it, now you're putting pressure on the top of the yogurt cup instead of the bottom. I might be petty, guys, but I truly believe that it makes a world of difference. If these are butters, they could be on their sides. It ain't going to hurt anything. The craft, I like how you got the craft in the middle. I seen on a previous picture, I forgot to call it out, one of these crafts were on their sides. They are not strong cases. Keep them upright unless you're topping off your pallet. Keep them upright and keep them towards the middle of the pallet within the cross. Other than that, you got some solid looking pallets here. I mean, these pallets are really nice. You're on plastic, which if you have to use them, you have to use them. You're doing a great job. We're nice and square. But that if you would have put it upright, you would have had the same result. And we wouldn't have to worry about balancing stuff on the necks of the bottles. But yeah, I mean, you did a very nice job. All right, guys, that's it for today. Remember, guys, if you're new to the channel, I am not calling anybody out. I'm just showing you the techniques that I've been using for the last 25 years that work. So please message me your stuff if you've been posting stuff and I haven't seen it. I apologize. It's getting harder to keep up with Discord with more people joining, which is a good thing. But start private message me. Freezer stuff too, guys. You freezer workers, give me some tips over in my instant message, and I will see you guys later. Have a great day.